Hello and welcome to day 5 of my series on spiritual gifts. Yesterday we looked at what 1 Corinthians 12, 1 through 11 had to say about spiritual gifts. Today I want to look at the rest of the chapter in 1 Corinthians 12, and it's going to be verses 12 through 31, and it's entitled One Body, Many Parts. So I'm going to start off with verse 12 and stop at verse 26 and explain a couple things and go on to the next part of that, the last part of the chapter. So starting with verse 12, the body is a unit, though it is made up of many parts, and though all its parts are many, they form one body. So it is with Christ. For we are all baptized by one Spirit into one body, whether Jews or Greek, slave or free, and we were all given the one Spirit to drink. Now the body is not made up of one part, but of many. If the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason cease to be a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, and I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason cease to be a part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has arranged the parts of the body, every one of them, just as He wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you, and the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable, and the parts that we think are less honorable we treat with special honor, and the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God has combined the members of the body and has given greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. So just to give you a little context of what was going on during this time in 1 Corinthians, in the Corinth church at that point, some people who had the gift, some of what they considered the higher gifts, in this case, for their time frame, it was the gift of speaking in tongues, which could be other languages or things of that nature, or of it could also be, they were with those that were preaching or the apostles. They were considered, quote, higher, and those were some of the gifts that were more prized, so to speak. And so people that didn't have those gifts were kind of feeling like, what do I have to offer the body of Christ? Because all I can do is this. And so he was speaking to that going, all parts are needed, because God doesn't give everybody every gift, and He doesn't withhold a gift from someone so that they're without gifts at all. So you have to kind of look at it and go, as we've talked about as I talked about in a previous thing, just because I'm not good, for example, in an emergency, but my husband is, I'm good after the fact with helping people process and things like that. So our two gifts work together, but I couldn't do it without him, and he couldn't do it without me. So that's how gifts are meant to work, and they're all meant to help build up the body of Christ. And so a great example of this, and it's funny because one of my gifts I feel like is teaching and getting information from the Bible that just kind of makes sense to me, and being able to convey that to people. But one of the other things that I just don't even think about half the time is my personality. I am an encourager. I am an includer. I want people to be, to feel connected. And I don't even think about it when I'm out and about talking to people. But I was reminded how some people may not realize how valuable they are to other people or to God. A great example of this is I was dropping some samples off at the post office. So I was waiting in line and I was trying to read, I had been at an event, and so I had people write out their addresses. Well, I was having a hard time reading one of these addresses, so I was asking a couple of the women in front of me if they could, help me understand it, see if they understood what the messy handwriting was saying. And then I struck up a conversation with one of the ladies. I noticed that she was having a hard time. She had her purse and she was trying to get something out of it, and just kind of seemed like it was just like an awkward thing while still holding her package. So I said, "Oh, I can help you with that," and I and offered to help hold her purse for her. And she stopped and looked at me and she goes, "Thank you. People don't normally talk to me." And again, I didn't think a thing about it. I was just doing what I would normally do. And so she went on up to mail her package, but had to go off to the side to write out her address for the package she was mailing. And so they called me up to the same window. And as I was waiting for the person to ask me questions and stuff, the lady again looked at me and she goes, "No, I'm serious. Thank you. People really don't talk to me." And it just really struck me because I didn't do anything outside my norm. I was not, doing this big miraculous thing. I was just talking to people. And if you know me, I am a talker. I can talk to a hole in the wall. I just love to talk. And I just didn't think a thing about it, but it was something that was so helpful for her that it really floored me that I was just doing what I would normally do, but it was such a monumental thing in her life at that particular time. And so I would say this to encourage you, that if you feel like you don't know what your spiritual gifts are, or you feel like what you have to offer is nothing spectacular, that's okay, because there is something in you that somebody needs. Because again, we're not all given the same gifts. So you may feel like it's no big deal. It's not getting up and preaching, and it's not this big, up in the spotlight kind of thing. But those people that are in the spotlight can't do what they do without other people exercising their gifts. So if you go back to the passage when it talks about the eye cannot say to the hand, "I don't need you," and those particular things, you think about the people who clean the sanctuary at a church, or who are greeting you when you come in the door, or who organize a VBS or something of those nature, or just volunteer at, I say just volunteer, or are volunteering at a VBS. You never know. The people that are, quote, out front and in the higher spotlight gifts couldn't operate without the people that are not in the spotlight doing their gifts. They could not do that. So we all need each other. So don't feel like you are not important enough, or not that you don't have anything to offer someone. You do, because that's how God designed you and made you. And for those people who are in the spotlight, just always keep in mind to really be grateful for those people who aren't in the spotlight, that are supporting you, because you couldn't do what you do without their help and support. So that's why he really wanted to give that example on the coattails of talking about spiritual gifts, because it's just important to keep in mind the higher profile ones as well as the everyday ones, because we need them all. So the final part of the chapter is 1 Corinthians 12, verses 27 through 31. And it says, "Now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is a part of it. And in the church, God has appointed first of all apostles, second prophets, third teachers, then workers of miracles, and those having gifts of healing, those also able to help others, those with gifts of administration, and those speaking in different kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all have gifts of healing? Do all speak in tongues? Do all interpret? But eagerly desire the greater gifts." Now, the interesting thing on this, that's a sum up of the entire chapter, is that just because you have the bigger gifts does not mean that you don't need the other people. So again, that's the sum up all the way around. So when he talks about eagerly desiring the greater gifts, it's interesting because he puts that right after the higher profile gifts. He said, "Are all people this, and this, but eagerly desire the greater gifts." So even greater than people that are apostles or prophets or teachers or working miracles, etc., etc. That there's something else that's greater. And that's what we're going to talk about on the next video. And it's on 1 Corinthians 13, which you may be familiar with, which is on love. So that's what we're going to talk about next. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I hope you have a great day.